Hey, Scriptgoat. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Vanna. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Color Purple. Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Arjun. Hey, Harlem. Hey, Elizabeth. Always nice when you get to stop by, Harlem. Anyway, what's new is nothing much. Nothing much new. Hey, Moody. About the newest thing for me is I recorded my review of Smile. So I'll get that up probably Monday, I think I'll post it. Yeah, maybe I'll post it Saturday. Sure, why not? Saturday review. Hey, Habibi. Saturday I'll get my review of Smile up. It is very easy to see why it was such a big hit. And hi, Habibi. Cat. I have no plans for a cat. Not the finale yet, Color Purple. I think this is the penultimate episode. I mean, I think technically we'll be finishing the game, but there is an epilogue as well. Crockpot? No. No cat, no jacuzzi. Haven't tried the jacuzzi. Haven't been cooking. No new crockpot. Yeah, so I think today I will be doing like the final, like the end of the game proper, but wedding DLC. What's selling more, Barbie or Oppenheimer? Barbie, from what I understand, which is not surprising. Barbie itself is a hugely popular franchise. It's shorter than Oppenheimer. It's not as serious as Oppenheimer. So, like, of course it's going to do better. It's got all the advantages. Plus, Gerwig and Robbie just seem to hit something. They just seem to click, and go pop the question. Not yet, Harlem. Not yet. So, yeah, I mean, I would expect Barbie to do way better than, to just do way better than Oppenheimer. Not because there's anything wrong with Oppenheimer. That said, I do not like Christopher Nolan's movies. I haven't seen that many Christopher Nolan movies, to be fair. But video review of Barbie? Nah. Nah, I have no real interest in, like, I'm rooting for Barbie, but I'm not going to be going to watch it. Hey, Josie. The hour-long movies make me want to seppuku. I mean, it varies. I mean, like, the Lord of the Rings movies were all 3 hours long. Special editions were like 4 hours long. Yeah, you want to do like I've done Lord of the Rings marathons. Not for a long time. But like I've done Lord of the Rings marathons in the past. Each of those is interminable. Each of those is super long, but I've enjoyed it, you know. Titanic was famously 3 hours long and made like all the money at the time. So, I don't know. It varies. Hey, trailer. Could not do that and I fell asleep recently during Titanic. I've been to a long movie at the theater. Do they have intermission? Usually not, Moody. Usually not, but I think some movies have. Wasn't there one not long ago? Hey, Jill. Wasn't there a movie not long ago that, like, there was... Or, like, at least there was talk of it having a, Yeah, there was talk of it, of some movie having, getting intermission. But no, intermissions aren't a thing with movies. Which maybe they should be. Maybe they should, maybe that should be brought back. One large set undone. Like that's, maybe they should do that. If a movie's gonna be more than 2 hours. If a movie's gonna be longer than 2 hours, then after like, after the second act, just stop the movie for 15 minutes so everyone can go, 15, 20 minutes, so everyone can go to the washroom, get some more popcorn, whatever. Started Titanic on tape 2. VHS, yeah. Oh, VHS, I remember those days. Be kind, rewind. I think the first time I think I originally watched Star Wars on VHS, but it wasn't like, I think it might have been like recorded from TV or something like that. Just like a home recorded version of Star Wars, but it's before the original. Is before the remasters, before the special editions, and before George Lucas started going back and editing everything. But speaking of that, I do have a DVD set of Star Wars, the original trilogy. It's got both the original cut and the special edition. Like, you cannot find the original cut of Star Wars on DVD. but somehow it was a gift. It was a gift from somebody. I think might have been from Chantel, either from Chantel or my mom. Got me as a gift one year Star Wars trilogy DVD set that had both the original cut and the special edition. The George Lucas recut, which is awesome because like I said, you do not find Star Wars the original cut on DVD. You do not find it on DVD. George Lucas seemed to just wanted the original cut to disappear. Hey, Anunnaki, am I going to sell it? No. Of course I'm not going to sell it. So yeah, I do find that very cool. Give me a second, I gotta blow my nose. Jordan! Hey, Jordan. Now it's a party. And, suppose, 23 people, over 20 people, so suppose I may as well get started now. So yeah, we are going to, we are basically done. This summer ended. This is the end of the summer of being 18. Hey, Comic Brook. Worry that a bit of brain will come out. Can't say that's ever been a worry of mine, Comic Brook. And hello, Comic Brook. After this is just going to be an epilogue. So yeah, we're going to do this and then an epilogue. So next week, I think, I'm pretty sure next week will be the very, very end of our life. Move to the next step. Are you sure? Yep. Nothing left to do. Moths bounced against your window, attracted by the light of your room, a siren call in the slowly darkening sky. Just as the day was coming to an end, so too would summer. Gonna sob uncontrollably next week. Liz would be moving back into the dorms before long. Luckily, Lee had been able to come stay for a short trip before her own new journey began. She'd officially been accepted to her first choice college a few weeks ago. This was her last chance to see you all in person for... You flicked through the plans for the next few months, realizing that you didn't even know when you'd have the next opportunity for everyone to be in the same place again. Hey, Kels. Don't do it personally. Don't take it personally. Yeah, I suppose there's still that one last path to go down. The Sarah route. Willow Cove grew up so fast. Fast? It's been like 8 months. I've been playing this damn game for months. It was hard to think that you'd likely be seeing even less of your cousin going forward, but you were delighted that she was pursuing her dreams. While you were still with each other, your family was going to have dinner together. As ever, the Holdens were tagging along too. Hey, Lady MK. Stressed and horny. Stressed and horny. I feel like that is kind of the default for, the default emotional state for everyone under, like, 45. Maybe even everyone under 50. Like, that is the default state for most people these days, I think. Stressed and horny is just... That is how people feel these days. Can we not date Todd? Not yet. Todd will be coming eventually, so don't take it personally. Is still in unfinished build. So half of the routes are finished. There's still the other half to go. There's still 3 more to go. Anyway. Chinese restaurant or tropical place? Tropical place. You hadn't really discovered the tropical restaurant until you were a bit older, but everyone's enthusiasm had resulted in so many visits that you'd more than made up for lost time. Liz and Lee were excited to squeeze in another trip before setting off again. You imagined Cove was feeling relieved to visit as a guest rather than a server. Technically, you were getting ready to go out, though your mind was only half on the task. It was a pleasantly warm evening, the kind that epitomized the vacation feeling, and you were in no mood to spoil it by rushing around. While idly gazing at your room, you spotted a small cluster of unopened envelopes. That must have been left for you by a parent earlier. You headed over to the table to flick through for anything of interest. As a child, any correspondence felt exciting due to its rarity. You recognize now that most of it was mundane, but you were checking any mail you got more regularly of late. There was something you were expecting. You stopped at a crisp white envelope. The logo proudly proclaimed the sender, a school you'd applied to. You took a deep breath and read it. This next step would take nerve. You closed your eyes as you breathed deep, the air slipping through your lips as you opened your eyes once more. You pulled apart the glued flap on the front of the envelope and extracted the letter. Hey, Killface! Your eyes darted over the message, rushing past the pleasantries to get to the heart of the matter. The blood pounding in your ears deafened you to the world outside that was contained within these letters. Your heart skidded to a halt as you read your verdict. You'd been accepted! Aw, our little us is going to college. I'm scared to say anything because it'll be on screen for too long and then I'll feel shame. Hey, non-comic Rook! We got Comic Rook and non-comic Rook. Worlds colliding. Rookiest thing I've ever heard. You were ecstatic. Bouncing on the balls of your feet, you pressed the letter to your chest as your excitement bubbled over. I mean, it'd be nice to let Cove be the first, but nah, tell your family right away. You had to tell your family right away. You tore down the stairs, your feet barely touching the ground as you leapt from one step to the next. Your arrival, which compensated for excessive speed by creating a riot of noise, caught Mom's attention. Someone's hungry! Her eyes were twinkling, amused, as she let you catch your breath. So what's the rush for? I got into college! Mom whooped, holding out a hand for a high five.
You're fantastic!
Nice, Jamie! The commotion had summoned the other women from various corners of the house. Liz looked up from her book, grinning, as Lee hurried over. Ma swept in from the side, wrapping an arm around your shoulders and squeezing you close. A riot of noise. The best kind of noise.
Good job.
That's wonderful, sweetie. All the moms are baddies in this game. Hey, let me in on the hug. She wrapped her arms around you both without waiting for an invitation. Liz, her book neatly abandoned on the floor, tapped her hands in applause as she walked up to you. Good job, Jamie. Lee didn't hide her excitement, openly jumping for joy as she treated you to thunderous applause.
Seriously?
It's amazing! You're gonna be amazing! That's nice, but you shouldn't just stand there. Yeah, there's room for everyone. Your moms opened up the hug, both keeping an arm around you as they each held out another to invite Liz and Lee in. Giggling, Lee dove into the hug. Liz rolled her eyes, but allowed herself to be beckoned into the group hug. Your mom squeezed everyone together tightly. Jamais. Mom's long hair brushed against your face as she turned to check the clock.
Let's go.
We can take this party on the road. We've got to head out for dinner soon. Nodding, you were aware that your attempts to finish getting ready had been cast aside in favor of congratulating you. I had to do a couple more things first. It won't take long. Just finish the game tonight? Probably not. You hurried back upstairs. Though getting ready to go out was the issue at hand, you couldn't stop your thoughts from drifting back to the future. Your mind was buzzing over the news you'd received and everything that would soon unfurl. There was a show? Let's finish Cove off. Everyone piled into the car. While it was marketed as being suitable to hold 5 people, in practice it made for a very tight fit. Your moms, sitting in the front, were fine. You, Liz, and Lee were squished into the back, Lee in the middle, wedged between you and your sister. But Mom was an excellent timekeeper. Thanks to her efforts, you pulled up near the restaurant on time. The process of getting out of the car was slightly easier than squeezing into it, with much less coordination required to release seatbelts than to secure them. You gave Lee a hand as she clambered out from the middle seat, then headed into the building as a group. A waiter greeted you as you entered. Ma let him know how many of you there would be in total, and he went to arrange a table that met your needs. He returned promptly to guide you to your seats. You perched comfortably in your chair, your head held aloft as if buoyed by today's good fortune. Your family settled down around you, all cheerful and looking forward to the evening ahead. Your drinks order had just been taken when the Holdens came through the door. They were pointed in your direction, though with Mom waving an arm in the air, it was hardly necessary. Those are big. Those are large emojis. Large emojis. Cove and Mr. Holden came to join you at the table. As greetings were being exchanged, Cove took a seat opposite to you. It had been left empty by unspoken acknowledgement that you and Cove would be wanting to sit together. Mr. Holden sat beside him.
Hi!
It's great to see you! Glad you could make it. Hello, everyone. You wouldn't believe how hungry I am.
I see.
You came to the right place then. There was some laughter, though Liz groaned playfully, shaking her head at Mom's sense of humor. Growing up, she'd have complained, and Mom would have responded by making another comment. Liz had mellowed over the years, but she still made a show of despairing at Mom's jokes. Her reaction to them had become a joke in its own right. Menus were soon passed around, and a temporary hush fell over the table as everyone read. It didn't last long, punctured by comments about what people had eaten here before, and light chatter about what people were considering tonight. Once the waiter had disappeared with your orders, Cliff piped up.
Okay.
So, I've got some good news. Kira's making a trip out here tomorrow. Cove nodded, turning from his father to the rest of the table. Yeah, we talked about it and figured this is a good time for everyone.
Very nice.
That's great! Everyone reacted positively to the news, though Ma looked wistful.
That's a shame.
If only we'd known. Here we are having a big meal without her. If we'd waited one day, she could have joined us. Mom patted Ma on the back, gently nudging her from the realm of possibilities and what-ifs, and back to the evening that was going so well. Chin up. Lee and Liz will still be here tomorrow. We'll just have to throw another get-together and keep the fun train chugging along. Ma smiled warmly, taking Mom's hand in hers. That's true. There's plenty to celebrate right now, but there will be more good news and good times on the horizon.
Right.
And speaking of, that's not all we've got either. Mr. Holden's eyes were alight as he sat up straight in his chair, face angled towards his son. He barely let a beat go by before nudging Cove with his elbow, pushing him to follow up on the announcement. He was the very picture of a proud papa. Cove shied from the limelight, ducking his head down and staring at his lap as he spoke.
Well,
it's just I've switched over to working full-time instead of only part-time. Plus, I've been looking at apartments. There's a few I can choose from. He flicked his gaze up at everyone around the table, a smile creeping over his face. Why? Killface, why do you have me yelling at a cat, Killface? Why do you have me so angry about the cat in a box? Well, actually, no. I suppose seeing a cat in a box, I do occasionally, act angry. Like, how dare you be so cute, type of thing. I'll be pretty busy going forward. Apartments. He was moving. Cove was going to be moving out of his dad's house. After 10 years, he wasn't going to be your neighbor anymore. Mr. Holden gripped one of Cove's shoulders and gave it a loving shake. His excitement couldn't be contained. Incredible. Cove's actually going to make it to adulthood. It's a miracle. Mr. Holden leaned back in his chair, staring up at the ceiling in mock wonder.
I'm so glad.
Made me laugh is all. I wasn't convinced I'd be able to rear a kid all the way to this point. But thankfully I lucked out and got the best boy a dad could have asked for. Dad. Cove blinkered his vision with his hands on the side of his face, temporarily blocking his father from sight. Despite his genuine bashfulness, which left him unable to meet anyone's eyes after all the attention thrust his way, he was happy. I volunteered to move in with Cove's dad.
thanks.
I was really lucky too. You're a good dad.
Aw.
Aw. Come here. Mr. Holden threw an arm around Cove's neck, pulling him into as close of a hug as the seating allowed. He rubbed his cheek on the top of his son's head while Cove chuckled, accepting the affection with good humor. Are the goat and monkey a couple? Probably. Saw a video earlier of a goat standing on its hind legs, walking into a shed or something while a chicken followed. Like leading a chicken into a shed. It was weirdly unsettling. Mr. Holden is aging well? He is. Ma leaned over and whispered in your ear, her fingertips brushing against your cheeks. Would you like to tell Cove and Mr. Holden what you told us earlier? Do I ever stand on my hind legs? As rarely as possible, as seldom as possible. Sure. As the spotlight thrust on Cove dimmed, you decided this was as good a time as any to make your own announcement. I did not get any spray, Stella. Stella! Can't you hear me yell? You're putting me through hell. Can I share some news too? Of course. I got my acceptance letter today. I'll be going to college soon. Mr. Holden gave you a thumbs up.
Good kid.
Impressive. You're a good kid. The world's your oyster. Cove grinned at you from across the table.
Seriously?
That's amazing. It's incredible. You did it. Congratulations, Jamie. Thanks! No, seriously, this is really, really big. And you deserve it so much. You looked around at the faces of the company here. You'd been on this journey with everyone here for years, seen them falter and grow, and they had watched you go through the same. Cove was leaving his family home. Liz was heading back to college, while Lee was starting at hers. You were staying close, but it was clear you were all heading in different directions, to different destinations. Some near and some far, but it wouldn't be long until you were all going your own way. It was bittersweet. You turned your head to the side, wistful, not wanting to spoil the evening with your troubles. You were glad that everyone was succeeding, but the idea of splitting up gave you a twinge of regret. These people had been key pillars in your life. Days ahead without them, no matter how bright and shiny, felt a little empty, like a theme park after closing time. But you focused your mind on the sweet side. New adventures were still ahead, and you could encourage that optimism. Cove brought some attention to himself with a clearing of his throat and a small interjection. I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're waiting for the food and everything.
Sure.
Sure thing, bud. With a tiny smile, he nodded at his dad, but the lightness to his expression faded when he moved to face you. Wanna come? He was attempting to be subtle, but there was very obviously something on his mind. Something he wanted to talk to you about alone. Favorite part of streaming these days? The chat, the games? I mean, probably the chat. The chat, but I do enjoy the games too. Am looking forward to moving on to a new one. To having this one over and done with. I've enjoyed it, but it's long. You watched him with concern as he rose from your seat. Yeah, I'll go. Take care. With those parting words, the two of you walked about the place. He was trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible, without actually exiting the building. What did he need to say? He hadn't admitted that was what this was about, but he didn't need to. Cove started pulling on the hem of his shirt. He turned his head back to face you, but it was an awkward movement. Well, I wanted to talk to you one-on-one about all this. You know, my work, moving. I mean, it was coming before, but now it's pretty much here. Hey, Jerry. Yeah, it's exciting. Cove stopped picking at his shirt, and he seemed to respond well to that response. He was relieved you weren't upset about it. Streaming this game for like 17 years. Feels like I've been streaming it for a decade, honestly. I'm glad you think so. But then he looked down at his brows furrowed. You saw his hand shift away from his clothes to instead rub at his arm. Are you looking forward to it? I am. Well, I'm trying to be. The entirety of Cove's real life in real time, just about. He ducked his head further, and you saw his face start to redden. But it's scary. I don't want things to end. Do I think about you randomly throughout the day like I think of you? Hey, J-Dot! Sure, Killface. Gone gray in the time that it's taken to finish this game? Come on, you don't need to worry. It may be scary now, but it'll be worth it. I sure hope so. Cove then turned his head away and wrapped his arms around himself. You felt a sudden chill that definitely wasn't caused by the air conditioner. It's happening, you know? What I talked about earlier this summer. The world isn't going to keep us together anymore. It'll all be up to us now. But everything is still going to be okay, right? We're still going to be okay? Of course! Jamie and Cove forever! You kept calm. You understood his concern. It is definitely hard to imagine what would happen. However, you didn't let yourself get upset. JJ! Thank you for 7 months, JJ! I feel like this is the romantic option, while this is like the honest option. And I'm kind of torn between the romantic and the honest, where it's like, you know. Where's Jenna? Yeah, I didn't see her yesterday either. She didn't come by yesterday either. I assume she's okay, but... Your mom's the romantic option? I don't know, but it's gonna be alright. You couldn't know the future, so you didn't have any definite answers. That being said, you still believed you'd make it through somehow. You had to. Hey, Mons. Cove laughed with a delicate smile on his face. Okay, you win. I want to prepare myself for the horrifying unknown, but you're kind of giving me no choice but to be optimistic here. Kind of reminds me of the line from a comic. I hate you, inevitable horror. Killface, thank you for 8 months, Killface. Showing up JJ there. Living the hood famous life. All my life I prayed for someone like you, Casey and JoJo. I gotta blow my nose again already. Give me another minute. What that nose been doing? Yeah, I don't know. I've just been blowing my nose. Just had to blow my nose a lot lately. Watching Law and Order SVU. Or like jerk face. Allergies? Don't think so. I mean, I'm stuck in my room all day. What could I be allergic to? That's out here, you know? That's in here. And I've never had allergies. Maybe my room is dusty. I mean, it probably is, but... I don't know, I feel like it has something to do with the lights. Shit, there's a point. Maybe I should just dust off the lights. Next week I'll try to pick up like some Swiffers. Weasel dander? I think next week I'll try to pick up some Swiffers and just try to like, you know, just wipe off all the lights around. It's possible that like the lights burning the dust on them, because they're a bit dusty. So it's possible that the lights burning all the dust on them, heating up all the dust on them, might be part of it. Or I suppose I could just use Kleenex to wipe them off, but... Could use some Swiffers anyway. Anyway, his eyes sparkled with mischief. Strong armor. Oh no, I can't believe you're being forced to have hope about life. I actually got that one's kind of funny. I can't believe you're being forced to have hope about life. His lips twitched up at your sarcasm.
Right?
I know. How am I gonna get past this? He gave a small smile and then stopped joking around. Thanks for listening to me, Jamie. It helped. You felt pleased that his anxiety had eased after talking it out. Want to go back to the table? I bet everyone's wondering what we've been up to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot what we were doing here. That'd probably be good. With matching smiles, you both reclaimed your seats at the table. Both of you felt lighter, and it showed. You seem happy? What was that? These gossipy bitches. Look at these smug bitches waiting for their gossip. Come on. Yeah, it looked like you were having quite the conversation over there. It's neighbor stuff, sorry. I used to be your neighbor. He waved off their questions and you didn't offer any explanations. They still seemed curious, but caught that Cove wanted to stay between the two of you and let it drop. You love it? Things relaxed and you took a sip of your drink. Lee idly tapped the table and got your attention. I'm so excited to try this place! I'm not sure if I've ever really eaten here. It's more Jamie's place than mine. Let's hope it's good. All the restaurants in the area are pretty top-notch in my humble opinion. We'll see. It was a challenge issued. Liz carried herself like some sort of professional food critic, and Mom snorted. Tough crowd, geez, Liz. Ma giggled and chimed in as well, much to Liz's embarrassment. That's right, Lizzie, geez. Oh, geez, Louise. Oh, alright. Bye, Killface. Good night, Killface. Geez. Liz put a hand over her eyes in mock offense.
Rude.
I hardly say geez anymore. Cove smirked and turned to your sister. You leaned forward in your seat. Huh. Jeez. When even Cove is getting in on the teasing. Everyone burst out laughing, besides Liz, of course. She smirked. No one could ever accuse your family of being no fun. Night fell soon after everyone finished their meals, and before you knew it, you were standing in the parking lot, saying your goodbyes, and packing up the cars to go home. After the last of the chores were done, your family spent some more time together. You then had some extra time and decided to... Little baby Shiloh? Jerk-faced Jeremy? Relax on your own. Honestly tempted to call Jeremy, because Jeremy is just... like... amusingly grumpy. He's so grumpy, and it just makes him... fun. It had been a while since he got his number from Shiloh, but you never actually attempted to reach out again so far. You thought this might be a good moment to go for it. Never met a Jeremy I didn't like. You had absolutely no idea how this conversation would go. The furious boy you'd known was very different to the resigned teenager you'd spoken to this summer. You bit your lip, wondering what side of him you'd see this time. Come on, Grumpy! Your first call ended unanswered, but you at least expected that much. Jeremy certainly ignored the unknown number. You redialed, waiting for him to pick up. After another extended dial tone sequence, the sound was finally replaced, but with a slow yawn. Hello? Hi, it's Jamie.
You're actually doing this?
Jamie, you're actually doing this? Haven't you suffered enough? Hey, Rebecca. No updates. There was none of the fury which he'd rained down in the past, only bewilderment. I'm a glutton for punishment. Sigh, why is this happening? You knew that he knew what led to this call. You didn't have to explain, and he proved that shortly after with a real sigh. Whatever. Did Shiloh ever explain his lying self? Yeah. It worked out. Alright then. The conversation came to a halt. Ask him a question. Been on any dates lately? Jeremy groaned in displeasure, cut through with embarrassment. I don't want to talk about that. You laughed. To your surprise, Jeremy piped up with a question for you. Are you that bored? Or do you honestly have some kind of interest in me as a person? Who cares?
Sigh. Sigh.
I'm interested in you. You're an interesting person.
Huh.
Wow. Then you heard another yawn coming down the line. You better stop asking me why I talk to you now. You expected the call to end there, even had your thumb hovering over the button to finish the call, but Jeremy's voice stopped you.
Bye.
I think it's weird we actually talk to each other yet again. It makes no sense. But it's not worth having a problem with. Bye. With that, he hung up. It had gone better than expected. And there was truth in what he said. Who would have thought that you'd reconnect like this? Life was full of surprises. One day I looked out my front window and there was a Jeremy OD'd on my front lawn. He said he liked to pretend he was in Mario Kart while driving on the interstate. He flipped his truck and broke his back. You didn't have a problem with it either. There was still time left in the evening, so... Yeah, Shiloh. Checked in on Shiloh. You thought of Shiloh, both as a central figure in your early childhood and as the person you'd come to know since then, and brought up his number on your phone. He picked up within a few rings. Hi, Jamie! His voice was as peppy as ever. You wondered if everyone who called got such an excitable greeting. Hey, Shiloh!
This is so great.
Star power-up song. To be a buzzkill, but he's dead now. Let me guess, Scapegoat. Blue Shell got him? The Blue Shell got him, right? Fucking Blue Shell. Goddamn, hate the goddamn Blue Shell. It's so great to hear from you. I hope you're doing okay? He raised his voice at the end, turning the statement into a question. Yeah, just wanted to see how you were doing.
Aw.
I really appreciate you keeping in touch like this. You must be so busy now. Oh, before I forget, my mom says hi. She's still sad that she wasn't able to see the last family herself. You should both come back again. It would be nice to have everyone back where it started. Yeah. You could hear the soft smile in his voice, even if you couldn't see it. She was mostly just happy that I got to have a little reunion with you all, and that it went pretty well in the end. He laughed again, firmly closing the lid on that discussion.
Yeah.
Anyway, your family and Cove are always welcome to come visit us here. That'd be fun. Pour one out for all the dead naked Jeremys. That's too many pours. With everything that was going on, it was highly unlikely that you'd be able to accept that invitation. Shiloh knew that. He was probably just being nice, as he preferred to do. But as a thought... we could meet that group of yours. You grinned, imagining Shiloh with his posse of unfriendables.
Great.
Awesome! Let me know if you're ever in the area. His voice was upbeat, almost as if he'd been energized by the idea and your openness to it. Well, I shouldn't take up too much of your time. Thanks for reaching out, though. Take care. Shiloh chuckled briefly. Bye. You hung up, feeling pleased that you could simply talk to Shiloh like this. It was sweet to hear a little from his mom, too, even if the message was secondhand. The rest of the night felt like it was going by in the blink of an eye, and somehow the time came to retire to your room to sleep. You pulled your covers up under your chin and settled down for the night, getting warm and cozy. As your head sank into your pillow and you closed your eyes, your mind drifted back to everything that had happened that day. You could see it all now, behind your eyelids, as though you were experiencing it all over again. And then the image of Cove popped up in your head, and you smiled softly to yourself. Yeah, sneak up to his room. If Cove could do it, then you didn't see why you shouldn't be allowed to. You made up your mind. As quietly as you could manage, you put on your shoes and slipped out of your room, closing the door behind you softly. Heading slowly down, you took care not to make the floor creak, especially the boards right by the bathroom. Those definitely squeaked. The stillness of the night made even the slightest sound seem so much louder to your ears, and you were very aware of your mom sleeping nearby. Upon reaching the bottom, you tiptoed towards the front door. Slipping out into the crisp night air, you shut the door and took a relieving breath. Excitement rising, you dashed across the street towards Cove's house. The road, too, was surreal at this hour, familiar and yet strange. It might have been eerie at another time, but with how eager you were, you hardly cared. You attempted to find your way from the normal footpath to the side of the condo, but the limited light was making it difficult. You knew for sure which window was Cove's, and lucky for you, it was on the first floor. Unlike Cove, you wouldn't have to do any building scaling. All you needed to do now was make it safely over the fence and past the bushes without being caught, or injured. Sneaking closer, you glanced over the hedges towards Cove's bedroom window, finding it cracked open. Perfect. You wouldn't have to knock and worry about him not answering. Hoisting yourself up with ease, you cleared the fence and avoided the shrubs, then darted over to the window. You buzzed with a nervous excitement as you approached it in the dark, having successfully made it all the way here unseen. Lifting the window up so it was fully open, you pushed yourself halfway through, your legs dangling into the underbrush below. It was a little awkward, as a small shelf was right in the way. You had to take care not to knock over a couple of plants, but you made it through with minimal noise. Once safely inside, you dusted yourself off and turned back to close the window gently, with only the soft glow of moonlight and Cove's fish tank there to see the way. You gave a small wave to the special fish you got to name, Wanda. A fish called Wanda. I had to go with a fish called Wanda reference. Then, straining your eyes through the dark, you crept towards Cove's bed, barely making out the sleeping figure beneath the covers. By the sounds of his soft breathing, you could tell that he hadn't heard you come in, and a small smile tugged at your lips. Why is emoji bigger? The fish are astonishingly still. Why is emoji bigger? Because they're happy to see you, Jada. They're that happy to see you. The emojis are that happy to see you. Hey, Serena. I'm torn between whispering his name and letting him sleep. What are we thinking? Should we wake him up or let him sleep? And just watch him sleep like a creep. Wake him up or watch him sleep like a creep. I do wonder if he wakes up. Huh. Looks like he wakes up anyway. Careless whisper. Shit, I don't remember how that sax solo goes. I don't remember how the sax part goes. Pretty epic sax solo, though. You whispered his name. Cove? You figured he must be in a deep sleep as he continued snoozing away. Positioning your lips beside his ear, you tried again. Cove? Wake up. This time he sleepily blinked his eyes and mumbled something incoherent beneath his breath. Hey, I wanted to come over, is that alright? He let out a yawn and rolled towards you, waking up just enough to understand the question, but not the full context. A faint smile appeared on his face. Whisper, no watch. What? Yeah, I want you here. He reached for you, his arms wrapping around your neck as he pulled you towards him. When your foreheads touched, he gave you a satisfied sigh. Then, as if totally unaware of what he had done, he started dozing off again. You snickered quietly to yourself as he sat there. He could figure it out on his own. And after a few more seconds, he did. Wait, Jamie? Yes, I'm here. He shuffled under the covers and sat up to stare at you in alarm.
What?
Why are you in my room? What happened? A smile slipped onto your face as he finally registered your presence for real. What the shit are on those peaches? It's like a bird. It's like a bird motif. A phoenix motif, I think. I think it's meant to be like a phoenix motif. But yes, PJs. Pulled him in for a kiss. Clutching the front of his shirt, you gently pulled him towards you and met his lips with your own. He kissed you back softly before pulling back too quickly, looking a little flustered. Was that the whole reason? He hesitated before whispering the next part embarrassedly. To kiss me? Is that a bad reason? No, it's not. I should have known you'd do this one of these days. It's only fair. You let out a breath, feeling relieved that he didn't seem bothered by it. In fact, it felt kind of good. You thought maybe this enthusiasm was why Cove did it so often. He pushed himself up fully, swinging his legs over the side of the bed and leaving a spot for you beside him. His hands shook where he held them in his lap. He was nervous. You can stay as long as you want. Really? Yeah, really. Can I stay the whole night?
Of course.
You smiled, feeling relieved that he had agreed, and he grinned back. You could always count on him. I've secretly slept over in your room before. It's fair you get to do it too. You snickered, feeling pleased with your decision to do this. Okay, but there's no way I'm letting you take the floor this time. Here we go again. You rolled your eyes and let out a soft laugh, which Cove returned as he rubbed at the back of his neck. I want to share. Can you try to stay? His eyebrows dipped. He was growing visibly nervous. It was to be expected. But after what happened last time, you'd been waiting for another chance. You hoped he felt the same. And it seemed he did.
Yeah.
This time we can share. You'll really stay? You won't leave to be on the floor? He nodded, holding back your delight. You tried not to grin at his sudden resolve. We're gonna share the bed. And don't worry about your boner, Cove. I take it as a compliment. You could hear the tremble in Cove's voice as he held his hands together to keep them from shaking. He let out a breath and shook his hands in front of him, mentally preparing himself. It's gonna be alright. His mouth set into a grim line, and he balled his hands into fists at his side, determined. It's not that serious. Just relax. It's only me and you. Nothing bad is going to happen. It only took a couple of moments longer before he turned to you, attempting a weak smile. Ready? Yes, let's get in there. He took another deep breath and you slipped under the covers, making room for him to get in after you. Laying as straight as a steel rod, Cove tensed up beside you, so still he was barely breathing at all. You rested on your side and faced him, your eyebrows pinched in the middle as you watched him. He looked back at you deeply. Hey, Jocelyn. Do you need more time? I can leave until you're more set up here. No, please don't go. I just want you to stay with me. Ever so slowly, he began to relax, his fingers tentatively brushing up and down your arm. His eyes shut, lashes fanning out over the top of his cheeks, and you still half expected him to run away like the last time. But he didn't. He stayed right where he was.
Don't worry about it.
You don't have to worry about me. Doing stuff like this isn't a problem. It's a process. You nodded in understanding, even though he couldn't see it, giving him time to let his nerves settle. After fluffing up your pillow and getting yourself comfy, you stayed quiet. Eventually, his shoulders became less rigid. When his eyes opened, he smiled and turned his head toward you. Thank you for waiting, again, as always. He laughed shyly, his soft eyes meeting yours through the dim light.
Are you okay?
I'll always wait for you, Cove. Aw, romantic. He squeezed your arm a little tighter, his lips curving into a smile as he looked at you in awe. He shuffled closer, an inch at a time, and nuzzled his chin against the top of your head, wrapping his arms around your sides. You wrapped your arms around him. Your fingers gently brushed up and down his back as he held him close. The room grew quiet around you. The only sounds to be heard were the faraway crash of the ocean waves and your breath mingling in the small space between you. Cove's heart was pounding, the thump of it rumbling through you as he spoke again softly.
That's...
You know, I'm not scared of you, right? It's just so many other things that scare me. I'm afraid of what-if hypotheticals that aren't actually real, but I think about anyway, and of nebulous concepts of what things mean that I can barely explain even to myself. I'm scared of my own feelings and how much I feel them. And I'm afraid because tomorrow things will be different between us, but I'll be alone again. He held on to you tighter, his breath stuttering ever so slightly. It's normal right now to see you during the day and part ways at night. Except for special occasions. A little laugh escaped him before his tone became serious once more. It's easier to stay where I am than it is to make myself move, to not take a risk, and to not know what I might be missing, but... He hesitated, and you reached up to brush a few strands of hair from his face gently, his eyes slowly fixing on yours. When did doing the easy thing get so hard? When it comes to you, I don't know how to stay still. I want to keep taking steps forward. Honestly, when I see your face, or even imagine it, I want to start sprinting. But when I try, I hit a wall. It's just like I physically can't do it on one side of my mind. There's something blocking me. And then on the other, I absolutely can't stop myself from doing it. It never ends well.
I'm always like this.
I hate it. It's the most frustrating thing. Why do I do it every time? I'm annoyed with the way I am, so I have no idea how you stand it. I'm sorry I act so split when it comes to, romantic things. I do not want you to think you're rushing me when I know I'm giving mixed signals. And I don't want to miss out on being happy by being like this, but sometimes I still can't help it. So, basically, what I'm trying to say is that I'm glad you've never given up on me. It means a lot. It means everything to me. It's who you are, and I accept you. His eyes glossed over a little as he squeezed you closer to him and smiled, his heart rate finally relaxing to a normal rhythm.
Good night.
Good night. He leaned forward and kissed you tenderly, his hand gently moving to cradle the back of your head. You were still smiling as you snuggled into him, getting as close as you could. Cocooned in his warmth, you easily grew comfortable next to him, feeling him ease into you as well. Before long, your eyes were growing heavy, and you drifted off in a restful sleep by your side by side. The next morning, you were lost in a comfortable dream, until a loud noise startled you awake and your eyes flew open, wildly searching for the source of the sound. It was the door opening abruptly, and in the frame stood Mr. Holden, smiling brightly. He hadn't seemed to have noticed you straight away. Get your butt out of bed, sport. Mom's here. Oh. All of a sudden, the two of you made eye contact, and he froze where he stood, the smile slowly slipping from his face. Well, that's not what I usually walk into. I clearly should have knocked this morning. Is it too wholesome? It is comic book. Of course, Cove would get away with sneaking into my room, and I'm the one who gets caught. Should I pretend I didn't hear that? Cove blinked his eyes tiredly and mumbled something incoherent, before turning towards the door. Both you and Mr. Holden stared at him for a few moments, neither knowing what to say or do. Cove, who continued looking at his dad dozily, was obviously having a hard time trying to process the situation. Then his eyes widened. Dad? Cove scrambled on the bed in an attempt to get to his feet, pushing the covers back off the both of you. Forgetting there was an overhanging ceiling above him, he shot upwards and his head hit on the wood. Ow! He flopped back down on his pillow, pressing a hand to his head and groaning loudly. Hey, Rose. On so many drugs. Nice. Cove! You reached out towards him instinctively. It was the second time that sharing a space with him had resulted in him hitting his head. You felt really bad for him. Poor Cove. Cove, bud, are you all right over there? Mr. Holden stepped further into the room, his eyebrows furrowed in concern, and he bent towards his son.
Yes!
Yes! Please just go! I bought Cosmic Brownie ice cream, and I know I will be sad. Okay. I'll leave. Cliff held his hands in front of him in a calming gesture, even though Cove couldn't see it. He turned to make his exit, but stopped abruptly in the doorway, obviously deciding he had something more to say. I know we've talked about this before, but I feel like now is one of those times to mention that I was barely older than you when I found out I was going to be a daddy, so... Just, if there's anything you need to say or ask about... Oh my fucking god, I am not sad. This is so good. Why do I get Jenna feelings from you, Rose? Not quite as chaotic as Jenna, but like... weird Jenna vibes from Rose. I know you're not Jenna, but... It is a cold and creamy twist on a classic treat. Am I alone here? Close second, I know. We're not having kids! I know, I was only saying. At that age, things can move fast, and... He let out a heavy sigh, running a hand over his face before stopping himself and saying calmly, "You know what? It's fine. We'll chat about this later." Does that feel... I mean, she's been in the chat before. I'm pretty sure Rose has been in this chat before. Kira's awaiting. With that, he stepped back out of the room, giving the two of you one last look before pulling the door shut behind him. "Hey, Milk." Cove rubbed at his face before dropping his head into his hands and mumbling between his fingers.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, oh my god. Well, that was fun. He said nothing, and you got the impression he didn't appreciate your comment. With a heavy sigh, Cove forced himself to sit up again. He frowned hard, staring over at the closed door. "Sorry. I guess we can't just hide in here now." He gave you a sidelong glance, and despite his displeasure at the situation, a small smile quirked his lips.
It's nice.
"It's too bad. It had been really nice." "Too bad is right. I hope we'll get the chance to do this again soon." You found yourself smiling along with him. The two of you took a few minutes to get up properly and get yourself as ready as possible. Cove put his glasses back on before heading out to see Kira. Kira was waiting patiently in the living room. She was in high spirits, with her eyes set on the hallway. Thank you, Colorado Milk. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the $4.99. Thanks for the $5, Colorado Milk. Her amused smile only widened when you and Cove froze. It didn't take long for the realization to sink in that the scene must have been loud enough for her to hear even from there. Cove tried to look unimpressed, eyes narrowing, over Kira's smug delight, though his face was already turning red and his mom hadn't even said anything yet. Sometimes I drink milk and scream violently. Man, I wish Jenna was here because a weird off between Rose and Jenna would be great. Maybe I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the gravy? He squared his shoulders, lifted his head, and strode forward.
Hey.
Hi, Mom. Hi, baby. And hello to you too, Jamie. Her tone cracked in her greeting, and then she just gave in and laughed, unable to keep any of it in. Cove frowned at that, and his eyebrows furrowed. Sorry for the interruption. I didn't know you already had guests. His frown wobbled as he became even more embarrassed by this moment. He couldn't muster up any words to defend himself. Well, it's not like anyone's surprised by this. Kira laughed even harder this time. As it slowed, she brought a hand up to cover her mouth, but you could still see her shoulders shake. Cove still looked mortified, but he shot you a stern look. All you could do was smile. Sometimes the best thing you can do is not help. Is not try to make things any better. Just roll with it. Sometimes the best thing you can do in an awkward situation is just absolutely roll with it. Not try to make it better. Travis Scott listening party? Hell no! Cove was still unable to say anything. Other than his teeth biting into the inside of his cheek, he stood there frozen. Kira studied you both for a moment.
It's alright.
It's okay. My not-so-little mister is spreading his wings. I can't complain about that. She lightly tapped the tip of his nose. That got a tiny smile out of Cove. Despite being much taller than Kira at this point, he still seemed like a little kid in front of her. You released into the air. You released the air you were holding in your lungs, and then Kira's gaze locked onto you. You know, we were just about to go over to see Pam and Noel. Are you two coming? I'll go. He stretched his arms for a moment and yawned, trying to physically shake off what happened.
Sounds good.
Great.
Great, let's do it. It was then that you noticed Mr. Holden standing on the other side of the room. You feared he must have been trying to create some space for everyone during that last conversation. You could tell he felt a bit awkward, but he tried smiling reassuringly as he scratched the back of his neck. His attention went to Cove. But do you want to get changed first? Cove looked down at his pajamas for a moment. He shook his head. No, we don't have to wait for that. Are you sure? It's only a trip across the street.
Don't worry about it.
I'm alright. Besides, Jamie is going in pajamas too. Fair point. Cove then leaned in closer to you. He grumbled quietly. And your moms are gonna figure out what happened anyways, so... Yeah. You despise blonde hair? Really? I don't hate blonde hair, it's just it doesn't really do anything for me. The emojis are yoked. They're swole. The emojis have been working out. The emojis are all like, do you even lift, bro? Remember that? Remember when do you even lift, bro was a big meme? Like 5 years ago?
Come on.
Away we go. With that decided, the four of you headed out across the street to your house. It felt strange waiting there while Mr. Holden knocked on the door.
Hello.
Hi there! Mom answered the door, and her expression brightened even more seeing Kira there. She moved to pull Kira into a hug when her gaze fell on you. Jamie? Hi, Mom!
Huh?
When did you get out there? Why are you still in your pajamas? Mom's eyebrow raised as she gave you a deep examining stare. Meanwhile, you and Cove shared a slow side glance with each other. Before you could answer, more heads popped into view around the doorway. Ma, Liz, and Lee were all chuckling. To be honest, I always assumed Cove had been the one sneaking around. Her eyes sparkled with amusement, and you had to look away. You noticed Cove's face was burning red again. It was a solid theory, Lonnie. Most likely they've both been breaking and entering. I wouldn't put it past my baby. He takes after his parents.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I can't believe my Jamie has been getting up to all that mischief, too. Mortified, Cove looked like he wanted to disappear, while the adults chuckled and discussed what you and him may or may not have done. Fortunately, they left the conversation there. Enough of standing around out there. Come on in. Mom moved aside to usher the group in and guided them to the living room. Before anyone could get settled in, Mom spoke up. I thought the drugs were making me hallucinate when I first put this. That emoji just seems like a hallucination anyway. You're all welcome to stay for breakfast. We still have some great spices and stuff from the farmer's market.
Of course.
Yes, we'd be thrilled to host you. There were eager nods from Mr. Holden and Kira, but Cove looked around the room filled with familiar faces before speaking up. Maybe, instead of staying here, why don't we go to the beach? A scenic picnic, eh? Mr. Holden crossed his arms and contemplated that idea happily. Excited, Kira clapped her hands together.
Yeah.
Oh, we could really make a day out of it. Might as well enjoy the ocean while we can. Why are the emojis so giant now? I'm screaming. I think it's just to fuck with your head, Rose. What are you talking about, Rose? The emojis are normal size. They're the same size they've always been. You know, the emojis are still little things. They're still small little things, Rose. Same size as the text. That sounds lovely, Cove. Everyone else put in their own agreement with Cove's suggestion. Before long, both families dispersed, getting everything ready. Don't you dare end the stream until we see the ending credits. Sandwiches had to be made. Water, sunscreen, towels, and more needed to be gathered and packed. Plus, you and Cove both took some time to get dressed for the day. An hour later, both your family and Cove's were walking down the old path to the beach. The morning was already turning into a bright and beautiful day. You honestly couldn't ask for better weather for a beach trip. The moment you laid your eyes on the full view of the ocean, you stopped and stood there mesmerized. It didn't matter that you grew up there. The sight always filled you with wonder. Doing a heckin' gaslight. Hey, Jamie?
So?
I was thinking about calling Terry and Miranda, see if they can come too. Everyone else is pretty much here, so would your family mind? That'd be cool. I'll ask them. You're already so excited at the prospect of seeing your friends today that you immediately darted away in the direction your moms went. Behind you, you can hear the familiar sound of Cove laughing. I have a question. Would it be alright if Terry and Miranda came by? I don't see why not. Ma looked to Mom to see what she thought, and she nodded in agreement. Mom then shot a glance over at Mr. Holden and Kira, knowing that they had likely heard everything.
You alright with that?
Cliff, Kira, what do you two think? The more the merrier.
Okay.
Of course, they're welcome with me. Thanks! Cosmic brownies in a cake pan with cosmic brownie ice cream. Delighted, you nodded and turned on your heels. Cove was still several feet away talking to Lee and Liz, likely about the same topic. With a beaming smile, you gave him a thumbs up, and the two of them must have also approved, as Cove quickly got his phone out and started making the calls. At that, you tuned your attention to helping with the picnic setup. Unexpectedly, your phone started ringing. You dug it out, curious to see the caller ID. Feeling your heart jump with excitement, you answered the video call request. It was Derek. Hey, it's been a while. Seriously, but what's up? The voice that came through was much deeper than it had been when you first met, but it still had the exact same amount of enthusiasm of a kid. Have you been enjoying these crazy summer days? Would have enjoyed them more if you'd been there. Yeah, I have. Awesome. You'll have to catch me up on that. But what about you? How's your summer been? You are beyond curious to know what Derek had been up to since the last time you spoke. He chuckled, noticing your invested tone. Honestly, I've just been slammed with stuff lately. College applications and scholarship inquiries. What else is new? Sometimes I cry and wonder if mushrooms. Okay. I bet you're even more toned than the last time I saw you, you joked. Laughing, you knew that you didn't need to see him to know the answer to that. Derek wouldn't be Derek if his free time didn't revolve around sports. Totally. I'm gonna be so buff you won't even recognize me. What about your family? Are your brothers being good? My little brother's a little punks, but I guess they're doing alright. You both laughed at that. Mom and Dad are fine. That's great. My moms are too. Turning your attention back to your surroundings, you smiled warmly at your family buzzing around. Towels were laid out and chairs and umbrellas were being set up. Actually... I'm out with my moms right now. Liz and Lee are here visiting too. Oh, that's fun, but if that's the deal, let you get back to it. Are you sure? I don't mind. Uh-huh, I'm sure. I'm not about to lose your number. Okay, bye. Bye, Jamie. Have a heck of a day. Aw. Sad that we couldn't invite him. Hanging up, the conversation left you energized and in good spirits. It was exactly what you needed to make this day even better. You hurried over to your mom's and helped put the rest of the food out. In moments, you noticed Cove at your side. I see blood in my closet and think of Eskimos. I feel like sometimes I cry and wonder if mushrooms is one of those phrases that might stick with me. If you think about it, we're all kind of like mushrooms talking through our interconnected mushroom signals. In other ways, we're very much not like mushrooms. So what did they say? They're gonna come. Cool. Thanks for calling them.
No problem.
I'm glad I thought of it. They'll meet us here later today. It shouldn't be too long. I can't wait. Well, on the topic of inviting people to join, you realized there was someone else you could call as well. You had gotten Baxter's number earlier that summer. You messaged him to come down to the beach. Everyone else was going to be there. You didn't want him to be left out. You sent him a text and hoped he'd show. After that, you made sure to mention what you'd done. No one seemed to mind. Once the setup was done, everyone got comfortable and dug into the food. You couldn't remember the last time breakfast tasted this good, but you attribute it to the gorgeous ocean view and soothing sea breeze. Morning swiftly gave way to afternoon, and a very recognizable face came walking down to the shore. It was Baxter. He came. He pleasantly approached with a wave.
Hello, folks.
I appreciate the invite to the party. Of course, you're welcome with us. We brought plenty of towels and food and sunscreen. Yeah, you're one of the neighbors. Kick back and relax with us.
Thank you.
Baxter's gaze moved over to you and Cove. He smiled. Jamie, Cove, long time no see. Hi. You waved from where you leisurely sat, and Cove nodded. Just got ice cream everywhere? I'm glad you decided to come. So am I. We meet again! Yes, lucky for me. A few giggles escaped Lee as she watched Baxter. It was then that Baxter noticed the face he didn't immediately recognize from around the neighborhood. He turned up his charm even more for the introduction. Excuse me, I'm Baxter Ward. I'm sorry we haven't met before. I only eat ice cream with a butter knife. Well, I'm not typically from around this area. Just visiting. I'm Cove's mom. Oh, I'll remember that. It's very nice to meet you. Baxter hitting on the MILF. Chocolate ice cream isn't Barbie pink. Yeah, now it's gonna look like you pooped in your bed. You're gonna look like you pooped your bed, Rose. After that, Baxter spent some time getting better acquainted with everyone, and Terry and Miranda arrived excitedly. The conversation shifted to what you all would do next.
In that case?
We could do a few rounds of volleyball. There's plenty of us now.
Is that all right?
Could I play? Of course. Miranda brightened, delighted with this plan. Ma looked around to see if there were any other takers. I don't feel like playing. I'd have to change, but it'd be fun to watch. I could be the ref. My eyes won't miss a thing. Volleyball's a good idea, but there should probably be something happening for those who aren't a fan. Ooh, I have some crafting supplies we could use to make jewelry. We could even use stuff we find around the beach to accentuate them. Hey, honey bunny. Hear that, Jordan? You sound like a MILF.
Really?
What? Really? I want to make a necklace.
That'd be great.
I'd be interested in trying my hand at that too.
Absolutely.
Impromptu crafting is my kind of party. I'd like to join too, please. Volleyball or jewelry? What are we thinking? Do I play volleyball or do I make jewelry? I make jewelry, I could make something for... I could make something for Cove. Me and Cove could make friendship bracelets. I'm gonna go with jewelry. I'll make some jewelry. Already, we're imagining various designs you can make depending on what Lee let you use. Your cousin shot you a thumbs up, clearly happy with your decision. I guess I'll try making a necklace too. Kira got up from the towel she was sitting on. She brushed some sand off her legs and then stretched her arms over her head.
Can do.
I'm up for a few rounds. Well, since there is still a free spot, I'll throw my hat in the ring. The things I do for family.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I'd love that. Liz got up from where she was sitting, and you could tell by her expression that she was already determined to win. You laughed to yourself, curious now how that game would turn out. Now that plans were settled, the group temporarily split into two.
Okay.
Let me pop back to the house to get my supplies. Anything we can do while you're gone? Yes. You can start clearing out the towels for us to work at. And if you want, look around for good stuff to use. She has very long hair. You're screaming, Rose? Good times. Good times.
I'm on it.
Roger that! While Lee ran back to the house, the group did just as she suggested. By the time she returned, everyone had their craft area ready to work at. Lee sat down on one of the towels and looked up at everyone eagerly. She held up 2 necklace options. I hope you've all been thinking about what you want to make. I have for everyone a choice of either a chain or a threaded rope. How do I pick? All I know is that I want to put some sea glass chunks on it.
Charming.
That is a charming idea. His gaze went back and forth between Lee's 2 necklace-based options. You could tell he was thinking quite hard about it. I can't decide anything for mine. No rush. I'll leave the strands here and you can decorate it however you want later. I suppose I'll use whatever I spot around the beach first. Fate can decide. So dramatic. You still hate Baxter? Aw, Baxter's cool. I think I'll keep it classic and only worry about finding a decent shell.
Yeah.
I'm planning on doing shells too! I haven't talked in 8 years. Why are you so obsessed? Why are you obsessed? Who hasn't talked in 8 years? I'm gonna look for some driftwood. Driftwood on a necklace. That seems like that's a weird one. Ooh, I didn't even think of that. Good idea. Is it driftwood for a necklace? Yeah. I think I have a cool idea in mind. Cove crossed his arms and chewed at the inside of his cheek. You weren't the only one that noticed. What's wrong, Cove? I'm not sure what to use. I mean, ideally I'd want a shark tooth, but what are the chances I would even find one? Mom smiled. You both looked at him sympathetically.
Sorry.
The rare downside of not having a shark-filled coast. That would make for a really nice necklace, though.
I know.
At Cove's pouting, Mom gave him a little bump on the shoulder with her fist. Well, don't lose out all hope. You never know, you might end up really lucky. Cove laughed. It cheered him up, even though he wasn't really convinced. After that, the little crafting club busily went to work on their pieces. Whatever they decided on using was attached to loops that were then slid in onto their necklace base. Don't fucking call her that, Sigma. Terry was immensely proud of herself when she was done. Hers was simple, but gorgeous because of the striking piece of sea glass she painstakingly searched for and found. Baxter excitedly showed his finished piece off to everyone. He stayed true to his word and used various materials he found along the beach. The necklace looked like it had a good weight from the clutter. He always had an eclectic style, it seemed. Cove ended up using driftwood of varying lengths to design his necklace. Despite not finding any shark teeth, he still looked pretty pleased. Mom decided on a medium-sized, purple, ringed-top shell as the centerpiece of hers, and Lee went with a few small Simnia shells. They both put their necklaces on soon after finishing them. After combing the beach several times, you found just what you were looking for. It took a bit, but you managed to make a necklace you were satisfied with. It mostly had driftwood. Your group of crafters would also cheer for the volleyball players whenever shouts could be heard coming out of the court. On top of that, you all would hold up each newly made piece in the air and the players would take a breather to applaud the creation. You really enjoyed searching the beach, trading supplies, and watching everyone make their necklaces. Rant about bookshelves again? Fair enough. The crafting club was definitely a success, and you weren't the only one that had a blast. The afternoon continued to drift by, but the fun was still going strong. Occasionally someone would head back to the houses to use the bathroom, rest away from the sun for a while, or to retrieve something that they needed, but they always came back. It's on my list of what I need. Why are they so expensive? I know, Rose, they are expensive. It's weird how expensive bookcases are. The beach was never empty, and there was always a new conversation to take part in, or another game to join. Hi, Rock? I just want a few shelves. I only have a few books. At one point, Mr. Holden even broke out his pack of cards. He roped the whole group into a few rounds of good old Go Fish. There was only one thing that could bring this beach day to an end, and that was for the day itself to end. Before anyone realized it, the sun began to set over the sea. As that happened, you were taking a break, sitting on a towel with your legs stretched out past it, and your feet buried in the warm sand. Shortly, you looked up to see your moms approaching. They stopped in front of you and smiled. Hey there, kiddo.
How are you?
How are you doing? I'm doing really good. How about you? We're wonderful. They both sat down, squishing you between them. Mom leaned her head against yours, and Mom started rubbing your back soothingly. Nothing more was said at first, but Ma sighed contentedly. Mom looked at you wistfully. We're both really proud of you, Jamie.
True.
You grew up to be more than we ever could have hoped. Books and knickknacks? Yep, good old books and knickknacks. Patty wax. Give that dog a bone. Thank you. You were touched by the words, and your voice came out in a whisper. Mom chuckled and lightly brushed a bit of your hair.
Thank you.
That's not something you need to thank us for. But still, I wouldn't be here without either of you. Ma wrapped an arm around your middle and squeezed you tightly in a side hug. Glancing at Mom, you saw how teary-eyed she became. She sniffled. You stayed there quietly and contently, watching the sun set with your parents for a while. Until Mr. Holden called out to you. He was still walking in your direction. We were talking and think we're going to take a walk down the shore. Any of you want to come? You don't have a saw, wood, and wood glue, sawhorse's clamps, and a sander? No. Automatically, you looked to your moms for what they were thinking. Mom glanced from you to Ma and smiled. That sounds good to me.
That's fantastic.
Yes, that'd be very nice. My legs need some stretching. Let's go. Thrilled, Mr. Holden threw out a thumbs up and began heading back the way he came in a light jog. Hey, don't leave us in the dust. Cliff kept going forward, but flipped around, walking backwards across the sand, so he could face you again.
No worries.
Don't worry, we won't leave without you. Alright, we'll catch up. Ready to go? Uh-huh. Both of your moms held a hand out to you. Chuckling, you gave them each one, and you all strolled back to the rest of the group. When Liz was in reach, Ma used her free hand to pull her into it too. Liz shook her head, but her mouth quirked into a smirk and she didn't resist. Together as a family, you followed behind the others hand in hand. Your feet squished into the wet sand as the waves rolled over them, and you didn't have a single care in the world as more and more stars began to dot the sky. Once the sun had long been out of sight, it was finally time to pack up. The closing of the day and the ever-approaching end of summer seemed to intertwine. It caused a quiet, reflective mood to blanket over the group. On the beach, Terry and Miranda took turns compressing Cove in a hug before moving on to do the same to you. You chuckled, still overjoyed that you got to see them today. I'm sorry we have to go already. My parents are here. That's okay. But still, I wish we could help clear this all up. Don't worry about it. Just thanks for coming out today. It was cool having everyone here.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm super glad we came. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. Nodding, you turned your attention to Terry. She wore a large grin on her face and held a hand out for a low five. You pressed a fist into it, which made her laugh.
See you later.
Take care of yourselves, buddies. After that, they walked away, waving to you and Cove as they went down the shore. Cove waved quietly back with a small smile on his face. The helplessness of not being able to construct some shells on the fly sounds positively asphyxiating. Imagine dying. I would rather not, Rose. You waved too. It was a big wave. You hoped Miranda was right, and there would be another day like this soon. Taking you by surprise, Terry jumped and twisted around. She kept up with Miranda by walking backwards. She kept the mood of your farewell light by shooting finger guns at you and Cove. Miranda bumped her with a hip. It left everyone with a laugh just before they disappeared down the bend. I mean, yeah. Finger guns are, empirically, the best kind of guns. Jamie?
Come on.
Hey, Cove, could you come here? Both of your parents were motioning for you. The two of you went to them. Tons of things ended up at the beach over the course of the day, so there was still so much to pack up, and the parents needed help. With a nod, you got to it, stuffing various things into bags and bundling them up in towels. Once things were ready to go, everyone filled their arms with as much as they could carry. Absolutely no one wanted this to be a back-and-forth kind of task. The walk back home ended up being mostly quiet. Each person seemed to be feeling the effects of the day. A cool breeze carried you across the sand and onto the road. Hey, Vanna. Can I name you something pretty and warm? Day on the beach, I guess? Anyway, I gotta blow my nose again. Give me a second. I don't know what a bump stock is, but I'm pretty sure it's the hammer I was doing. See, that's the hammer. Pew, pew, pew. It's the hammer clicking down. There was a sigh of relief from what felt like the group as a whole when they arrived back to the neighborhood. Baxter carefully placed what he had been carrying on the ground. Thank you so much for helping with that.
Thanks.
No, thank you for allowing me to join today. You all shared with me. Helping to carry it back is the least I can do. Ma nodded, and the others started collecting their things from his pile. Baxter, meanwhile, stepped over to you and Cove. It really was a pleasure getting to know you both this summer. His head tilted towards you, and he smiled warmly. Baxter offered you his hand. Side hug! It took a moment, but after shuffling what you were carrying, you were able to free one of your hands enough to pull Baxter into a quick hug. He genuinely laughed and looked at you fondly when you let go. I think of unicorns a lot. Extended clips. See, one of the benefits of finger guns is they've got unlimited ammunition. You never have to worry about running out of, they've got unlimited clips. You never have to worry about running out of ammo on your finger guns. This is running like a Lamborghini. I think we did end up as good friends.
Glad to hear it.
I wholeheartedly agree, Jamie. I enjoyed this vacation immensely thanks to you. Baxter turned to shake Cove's hand this time. He was a little incredulous for a moment, but then Cove eventually shifted what he was carrying and took Baxter's hand. It wasn't long, but it was a solid handshake. Baxter was clearly pleased. I wish we had more time together, but it was still a nice ride while it lasted. Would happily do it all over again. I like finger guns. Yep. Bye, Baxter. Yeah, bye. Baxter nodded and walked a few steps towards his condo. He then stopped and waved.
Goodbye.
Baxter sauntered away completely and disappeared inside the condo to return to his own things, his time with you and your family and friends ending. Boogini? Ah. You paused for a moment, staring at where he went. But afterwards, you looked back over at the rest of the group. Lee and Liz were just going inside your house. You couldn't spot Kira or Mr. Holden anywhere, but the door to their house was wide open. Mom approached you with an amused look on her face. Seems like you're holding up some Holden things. Surprised, you glanced down to take a quick inventory of what you were holding. Mom was right. Some of it belonged to the neighbors. Would you mind dropping it off now? Can do. It's not a problem. Finger guns are notoriously opposed to confiscation. Yeah, I mean, there's really only one way to confiscate a finger gun. Thunk. Thank you very much. Cove took a few steps towards his house and stopped, waiting for you.
Good night.
Good night, Cove. I'll see you inside, Jamie. Night. You caught up to Cove, and together you went over to his house. Walking in the front door, you saw Kira and Mr. Holden busily unpacking already. Things were scattered on counters, and they were moving around each other, putting the items away. They both lifted their heads when Cove closed the front door. Hey! It's nice seeing you again already, Jamie. Her teasing tone brought a light smile to your face. You hefted the stuff in your arms a little closer. I added up with things of yours from the beach.
Oh.
Oh, thanks for getting that to us. You can put it, here on that coffee table. Mr. Holden pointed at the surface he was referring to, and you immediately left what didn't belong to your family there. Cove put his own things down on the floor just at his feet, wading through everything strewn about to reach his parents. Putting your family's stuff on the ground for a moment, you dusted your hands off and straightened up. You needed a second of rest and a minute to resituate it all. You went over to where the others were too. Kira opened her arms wide, wanting to hug you. Yeah, accept the hug from the MILF. You never turn a hug down from a girl never turn a hug down from a woman who looks like this. Right? I'm right, right? She is a good-looking woman. You accepted. Happily, you went to her. She held on tightly. Over the years, you were able to form a good rapport with her, and you were grateful for that. Do I cry? Not very often, usually when I'm tired. When I'm tired, I get more emotional. And things make me cry. You could feel in her hug how much Kira had grown to care about you. It brought an affectionate smile to your face. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was a blast. It's no problem. I had fun too. Kira eventually released you, but patted the tops of your shoulders as a final gesture.
Thank you.
Every time I've gotten to come by, it's been an absolute joy. Things really couldn't have worked out better. Mr. Holden took a step closer to you. Kira moved aside to let him say goodbye too. He grinned. Thanks for always being such a friendly neighbor. And not just right now, but for as long as I've known you. I didn't always make it easy, but you and your family are good people. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thanks again, Jamie. So much. At that, Mr. Holden reached over and gave you a soft pat on the top of your head. Aw, I don't get a hug from the Delph? I don't get a hug from the Delph? Well, I mean, Melf hug is fine, but I wouldn't have minded the Delph hug. Oh, hey, I do get to hug him. You hugged him. Taking him by surprise, you latched your arms around Mr. Holden. He let out a small squeak and went rigid. So maybe he's not big on surprise hugs. After a moment, he relaxed and began to lightly pat your back before shifting into a full hug. You held on firmly. Thank you for being a good neighbor. As you let go, he sniffled, but when he met your gaze once more, his mouth pulled into a wide, happy grin. Mr. Holden was staring at you, but his gaze seemed far away. Maybe he was looking back at who you used to be, the 8-year-old he had asked to be his son's new friend.
See you.
Bye, Jamie. You smiled softly. Then Cove took a step forward. He gestured to his pile of things he had carried into the house.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about all that. I'll put stuff away in a few minutes. Right, I need to go do the same with my family. I figured. Cove walked you to the door and held it open. Taking one last check around to make sure you had all your things to bring home, you went into the road. He leaned his body against the doorframe, not following you out. So, this is it, huh? Actually, that's not what I mean. His expression twisted and he shook his head a bit, like he was trying to banish the pensive thoughts.
Bye.
I'll just say bye. Bye. I'll see you soon. Your mouth pulled into a soft smile, and you weren't sure who you were trying to reassure more. Cove reached forward and gently cupped your face with one hand. His thumb trailed across your cheek for several heartbeats. Mesmerized by his blue eyes, you stepped forward, delighted to oblige the request he was silently asking. He met you halfway as you smiled into the kiss. It was soft with longing, and your chest ached knowing that there couldn't be anything more than this, at least for now. One of his hands grabbed onto the door handle and firmly held it. He was stopping himself from coming along with you. As you walked over to your own front door, you stopped. Turning around, you spotted Cove right where you left him. You laughed quietly to yourself. For a small pause, you both stared at each other from across the street. Ran back to hug him goodbye. You put the remaining stuff from the beach down on the step and almost tripped bolting across the road. The next thing you knew, you were diving into Cove's arms, wrapping your arms around his middle. The force of it all knocked you both loudly into the doorway. But neither of you cared. You both held each other tightly, and you could feel Cove resting his cheek on the top of your head.
Night.
Night, Jamie. He smelled like salt water and sunscreen, and like home. It was a while until either of you thought to separate. Aww. Slowly, you made the trek home and collected what we left on the steps into your arms again. Things couldn't be dragged out any longer. After one more shared smile, you opened the door and went inside, shutting it behind you. A few steps in, you saw your family gathered in the living room. They were still busy unpacking and cleaning. You added the things you brought to the pile on the kitchen counter. Mom stood up, rubbing her eyes a bit. She yawned loudly. I'm bushed. How about we finish the rest of the chores tomorrow? Yes, honestly. It's too late for this.
Thanks.
Please and thank you. Ma put her hands on her hips and turned to assess the room. Ma was not one who liked to leave a mess about, but she sighed.
All right.
I suppose we can make an exception to the usual rule. It has been a really long day. Liz grinned contentedly. Lee wasted no time in skipping over to you and hooked you into a side hug. Good night. I hope you have the loveliest dreams of you-know-who. You gossipy bitch. Lee ended that sentence with a wink and a hearty laugh. She let you go. You hugged her back. You pulled her close and into a bear hug. Lee giggled until you released her. I hope you sleep well, too. Getting nervous with this nose-blowing coughing that you're coming down with something? Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, I totally will. The moment my head hits the pillow, I'll be out. Here's to us, Jamie. Tonight, tomorrow, and forever. Here's days. Who's like us? Damn few. And they're all dead. Yeah, family forever. Lee leaned in close to whisper in your ear. You didn't fail to catch the teasing look on her face.
Aww.
Exactly. There's no escape. That got a laugh out of you. You lightly pushed her shoulder. Lee stretched her arms high over her head. She yawned loudly and looked at you with tired eyes. I think that's my cue to head to bed. Bye. I think so too. Have fun sharing the room with Liz. She laughed at that, and Lee shuffled off towards the guest bedroom. Before you had a chance to do anything else, you could feel the top of your head being tapped. You spun around to see Liz smirking. Nighty-night. I'm heading to bed too. It's been a long day, and I have a lot to prepare for tomorrow. Exhaling, you automatically started fixing the back of your hair. When Liz didn't immediately walk away, you smiled softly at her. Everything okay? Her gaze moved away, and you knew she had more to say. You waited patiently for Liz to compose her thoughts. It's been a good summer. It was nice to come back home. You nodded, and Liz gave you a teasing nudge as she went by. Amused, you turned and watched her go. Love you, little kiddo. Love you too. Aw, family! Liz stopped walking and stared at you for a moment. She smiled softly at you. Get some sleep soon. Morning will be here faster than you know it. I will. When Liz was out of sight, Mom started up the next conversation over her shoulder. Aren't you heading up to bed too? I want to finish getting everything cleaned up.
What?
What? Are you sure? It can wait. Glancing around the room a moment, the disarray made you feel a bit twitchy. You had a feeling that you'd sleep sounder if you took your time cleaning before bed. Yeah. Ma came over too, smiling understandingly. She pulled you into a big hug.
Love you.
All right, you do what you need to. I love you. When you were done hugging Ma, Mom pulled you into another hug. Their actions, basically handing you off to the other, had you laughing jovially.
I love you.
I love you too. Aw. They both couldn't resist taking turns hugging you again. Your smile widened. It felt good to be so loved. Let us choose, it'll be more fun. The game's almost over anyway, so. Good night, kiddo. Sleep tight. Good night, sweetie. Night. After that, your mom's headed off towards their bedroom down the hall. You were about to turn the other direction when you heard Mom's voice. And don't let the bed bugs bite. You heard Ma chuckling as you watched them go with a smile. It was a while later when you were finished putting everything away. You didn't rush the process at all. Your sleeping hours may have been cut into, but you felt so much better getting this done. You sighed contentedly, gazing at the organized living room and kitchen. Before you could take a well-earned break on the couch, something out the window caught your eye. Your feet brought you right in front of the large window spanning the length of the back wall. You stared out into the hills behind your house. As if on cue, Your phone came on, alerting you of a new notification. It was Cove. Want to hang out on the hill tonight? Something inside you told that this was the right kind of night to take a trip out there. You sent him back a very quick message. Yeah. You went over to the front door and, stepping over the threshold, you gave the living room one last glance over your shoulder. Then you shut the door behind you. Silently, you made your way to the Poppy Hill. With light steps in the dark, you walked across the hills behind your house. Up ahead at the very top, silhouetted beneath the night sky, was a familiar figure already waiting there. Smiling, you wondered just how he always got there first. You even had the advantage of living closer. He was tall, he has those long legs, big, long strides, and he was probably already on his way there. Then again, and maybe it was only in your mind, but somehow, Cove was intrinsically linked with this place. After all these years, it would be weird to scan this horizon and not find him there, as surreal as the shore without the sea. The distance between you was growing shorter by the second. Hearing the grass and earth crunch under your feet, Cove turned. A grin spread over his face as he saw you. You took your place standing beside him on the crest of the Poppy Hill, looking out over the ocean. Same as he'd done on countless times since he'd first arrived, when you'd found him on this very same spot.
Jamie.
He had officially broken the silence, the spell that had held you both in place. You looked at him expectantly. There's something I've always kind of wondered about. He cocked his head, giving you a sidelong glance. What did you think about me? What did you think about when we met? I was just a kid you'd never seen before, bawling his eyes out, on the hill next to your house. He chuckled, his eyes drifting towards the sea beyond, before flicking back to you. The way his gaze pulled back to you made it clear that he was genuinely invested in the topic. Luckily for him, you remembered what initially struck you in that moment. It was as if it had only happened yesterday. Well, I remember noticing the huge glasses you had then. Cove burst into genuine laughter at your reply. I guess that's fair. It did kind of stand out. Sighing a bit, you continued to reminisce about that first meeting. I also remember feeling bad about what was happening. I remember that too. He ran a hand through his hair, and you knew his line of questioning wasn't at an end, even before he spoke again.
I mean...
Do you remember what you thought about me? You know, as a person? Was I annoying, or mean, or... I just worried about you because you were so sad. His eyes widened dolefully, and he hung his head like a guilty puppy.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for upsetting you. Cove's hand drifted to the scar on his arm, and his fingers unconsciously gliding over the mark. It was much less noticeable than it had been when the neon pink cast had first come off, shrunken gradually over the years as his body healed, then dwarfed in comparison to his growing body. Still, his fingers came back to it without thinking. He gave a half smile, not meeting your eyes. I feel bad now. The thoughts I had were, well, considering what you were thinking, I came across as a lot worse of a kid. You didn't like me?
No.
No, it definitely wasn't that. Cove lifted his head up, finally committing to meet your eyes fully once more. I remember you that day. I remember it really well. I don't think I'd ever be able to forget. I can picture the way you looked back then when I first saw you standing right here. I still know the expression on your face when you chose to sit with me in the grass. He chuckled self-derisively, interrupting his own monologue. You scared me at first. I figured I'd be alone out there until I had to face my dad again, and then suddenly another kid appeared out of nowhere. It was startling, but I got over that fast. You were a strange person at a strange place, but in that moment, you were exactly what I needed. Somebody I could talk to freely about what was happening, and how it made me feel. Hey, happy distraction. And you listened to me. You stayed with me. He sighed, then bit his lip as he gave a small smile. I was a little bit spoiled growing up. It wasn't bad. You were dealing with a lot. What do you think of the phrase merry pranksters? Gotta blow my nose again. Give me a second. Anyway, merry pranksters, in general, not kind of a fan. Thought we were all talking to the void. Aren't we all in a little... Aren't we all just talking to the void? It wasn't bad. You were dealing with a lot. Cove tilted his head to the side, smiling softly at your defense of his smaller self. He looked off again, seeking clarity for his thoughts in the expanse of the night sky. What I'm trying to say is, when I was younger, I viewed myself basically as the center of the universe. I didn't even imagine it was like that.
I mean...
Things didn't simply happen. That would be weird, according to my little kid brain. It made far more sense that everything in my life had a specific connection to me somehow, right? He sought affirmation in you, wavy brows raised, as he tried to explain his childlike logic. So at the time, you felt almost unreal. I tell the tree by my house about you all the time. Like, you weren't just anyone. Some other kid who happened to live in that neighborhood with your own whole life that wasn't connected to Cove Holden. No, to me, you were there so that you could find me when I was lost. Though, it turns out you were there for that. You were trying to find me because something had sent you specifically to do that. I just didn't expect it to be my dad. I guess he knew more about what I needed than I thought. He chuckled, shaking his head as he shook off the thought. I kind of expected it all to vanish like a dream when that night was over. I would wake up and everything would be the same again.
That's...
I'd be back in my bed at home, my real home, with both my parents. The future was something I couldn't picture anymore. I didn't know what school would be like, or when I went back, or the table where I'd eat breakfast the next morning, or anything. And if I couldn't imagine it, how could I think it was something actually happening? I couldn't grasp my new reality. It was too big for me to hold all at once. So I never thought I'd see you again. Then Cove beamed at you, his eyes shining bright. And I never, ever would have been able to guess that 10 years later, when I was a grown-up, the two of us would still be together. Guess that makes me your dream come true. You've been joking, but Cove nodded in agreement. You are. You exactly are. But the smile faded from his face as his eyebrows drew together. That was the worst day of my life at the time. The day my family broke apart. It was too heavy for me to even think about. I felt that way for I don't know how long. He held a hand over his heart, connecting with the pain he'd felt as a child, and looked at you earnestly.
It's okay.
But that was never really true. Things have only gotten better with me, and with Dad and Mom. It was the change we all needed. His eyes were growing misty. So, when I remember that time right now, it's not the point that my life was over. It was only the moment that I met the person I was going to be with. The devil's sugar. When I was crying to a stranger over what I thought I'd lost, I didn't have any idea that they would be the one thing in the world that I actually wouldn't be able to live without. I never want to lose you. You won't. Then you kissed him. Always go for the kiss. He leaned into the kiss, his lips soft against yours. Cove sighed contentedly. His voice was as delicate as the petals on the poppies. Field of puppies. That would be something different. His voice was as delicate as the petals on the poppies which crowned this hill. Hey, Jamie. I'm so grateful you were there, even when I wanted to run away. You didn't even know what to say back to that. His heartfelt appreciation left you speechless. He tilted his head up, thoughts lost in the sparse clouds above. I wonder how late it is. I guess it doesn't really matter. My dad is fine with me being out whenever. You could just use your phone to check the time.
I know.
Sure I could, but I'm probably not gonna. Are you going to lay in the grass now? Wow, how'd you know? Lucky guess, Cove. With a chuckle, Cove flopped down onto the ground and laid on his back, his usual way of spending time there. You laid down and snuggled against him. You lowered yourself against Cove's side in the grass and wrapped an arm over his chest. Cove smiled at you and used his free hand to cradle your face. The both of you fully settled in to relax on the hill. It felt like just the beginning of one of your nightly outings, but then you realized the sun was peeking out over the horizon. Cove spoke up with a disbelieving tone.
Huh.
It really was late. Your neighbor wasn't a stranger to being awake at dawn, however not like this. He was normally an early sleeper, early riser. This unexpected sunrise particularly awed him. The two of you watched on silently as the sun began to light the world. Cove then propped himself up on the backs of his arms and looked at you with a soft expression on his face. Do you want to go back home? I could carry you if you're too tired. I'd rather stay a little longer. You couldn't resist a yawn, but you were serious. It couldn't be time to go already. Thanks, Killface. How's Cove? He's a sweet boy. Cove remains a sweet boy. Cove chuckled affectionately and gripped you a little more.
I get it.
Okay, but it's been a long day. We've done a lot of things. Like, really a lot. It has to end sometime. Since when were you okay with things ending? That made him laugh again. It was a fair question. Since you made me feel better about it. And we can still stay if you want to. Cove smiled brightly at you, as warm as the new rays of sun that were tickling your skin. In that moment, you couldn't have appreciated him being there more. Hey, Lily. Yeah, kiss him again. You moved your face forward and gave Cove a small kiss. He tilted his head against yours. You're my favorite neighbor. You're mine too. The two of you remained together on that familiar poppy hill where you first met until the world began to fade and blur. You were falling asleep. A few more gentle words drifted into your consciousness.
See you tomorrow.
Your eyelids dipped, but you felt good. You were safe and relaxed. Everything that had come before this had reassured you of that. You were confident that when you opened them again, things would be okay. You opened your eyes. Inside the walls of your room, you were surrounded by open sky. It was not soft pillows and sheets underneath you, but the bed of earth and grass that you'd taken last night. The day welcomed you with a shining sun, a refreshing breeze, and the chirping song of birds. You cupped your face with your hands as you sat up, feeling the imprint of the blades of grass leaving lines into your cheeks.
Jamie.
Hearing your name, you lowered your hands and looked around. There he was, your most influential neighbor, Cove Holden. He had made himself very comfortable laying on his stomach with jewelry and shoes taken off, and a flower in his hand. Good morning. Good morning to you, too. Cove laughed, tickled with the overall situation, and simply being able to spend time like this. Told you I'd see you tomorrow. It's the exact same day, Cove. We were up until dawn. It doesn't make it a new day now just because we went to sleep later than normal. Then we disagree, because to me it's not really the next day until I've been to bed and woken up. But fine, I'll just have to make sure I see you tomorrow again. Probably the day after that, too. That way there's no argument. Cove turned his head up to the sky, his expression content. Looks like it's going to be a nice day. We'll have to come up with something to do to make the most of it. He trailed off, blinking slowly in the sunlight. Someday, when we're even older than we are now, I wonder what we'll end up remembering this moment for. What will we feel when we look back at it? Will it be the same as what we're feeling right now? Oh, good night, Killface. Nah, you won't feel the exact same way. It'll be more just... It'll be nostalgia is what you'd feel.
It's nice.
I can't see what the future is going to look like again, but I think that's alright. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Cove turned back to you, nodding in full agreement. He eyed the hill sprawling out before you, and down below, where the wild hill and nature gave way to civilization. Your home, and Cove's, lay down at the bottom, neatly filed among the other houses in the neighborhood. Hey, Jamie, I bet I can beat you in getting back to the road. You laughed, amused by the wager that reminded you of so many moments in your youth. As much as I like it here, it's okay if we leave now. We can always come back to see the poppies and the fireflies again, right? Cove met your eyes, waiting for what you were going to say in response. It really is going to be another nice day. He didn't know where that came from, but Cove blinked slowly, his eyes still locked on you. Though you didn't need to see his face to know that he adored you. If there had been any room for doubt, the tender way he spoke would have filled it up. You're one of a kind, huh? Cove beamed at you. His expression was so unlike the one he'd worn when you first found him here, swallowed in sadness and uncertainty. Yet you couldn't help but glimpse that boy once more underneath his bright expression and matured features.
Come on.
He offered you a hand. You accepted it, your palm fitting around his. Cove lifted himself up, pulling you along too. Our parents probably aren't going to come running for us this time. We've got to make our own call. And I say that we can't hide away forever. Poppy Hill is just one part of things. There's more out there for us than this time and this place alone. Let's enjoy it. You couldn't say whether you were the one that broke into a run, if Cove had been the one to start it, or if your feet had simultaneously made that choice for you both. The end result was the same, with the two of you dashing down the hill like children, but with this nostalgic revelry that could only come as an adult. If I scream, I wonder if someone on Pluto screams too? Splenda is evil. As the wind went past you, you knew that family and friends were waiting at the end of your sprint. There were more memories to make after all. Life takes another step forward. And here's the credits, Comic Brook. You didn't want me to stop until we got to the credits? Here's the credits. Legitimately, I can't believe this. I know. One more episode, though. There is still the epilogue. Fat Bard. Good game. And there's still the epilogue, Comic Book. There's still the epilogue. I should be in here somewhere, I think. Yeah, I'll show up somewhere in this list. No idea where. Seems to be more or less random. Made it just about, Jordan. Like I said, there's still the there is still an epilogue for next week. Anyway, nice that they had a lot of supporters. They clearly had a lot of supporters. Yeah, a lot of people backed this game on Kickstarter. My name should be in this list somewhere. For all I know, it's already passed. There's a lot of names. And it's not alphabetical. Okay, see, I have no idea where my name showed up in there. There were a lot. There were a lot of names. Give me a second. I just want to get a general idea.
Ants. Goodbye. Oh?
Yeah. Alright, so Looks like there is a little bit more, I guess. Even aside from the, so yeah, probably will be just one more episode. I imagine probably just one more episode, but, I suppose it depends on how long, like, the remainder of that bit is. So I might just, like, do like a sort of a speed run, like, just skip through it all just to get a general impression of how long the postscript is. But yeah, probably just the one more episode, but we shall see. And I am now leaving. So, thanks for coming. That was the end of the game proper. Everything after this is just going to be related to DLC. That was the end of the game proper. Speedrunner. So, yeah, see you in another video. See you next time. Like I said, Saturday I'll have a review up of Smile by Raina Telgemeier. So, thanks for coming. And I'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.